national organizations and local organizations, why everybody's struggling right now with membership. Welcome to the HairX Friends We Got This podcast, where we share our thoughts on the pharmacy profession, experiences as healthcare providers, and explore our identities as two women of color going after it all.
As we share our stories, we hope you laugh, maybe cry, and feel inspired as you get to know us. At the end of the day, friends, just remember, you got this.
We got this. You know, it's been a while since we've said the intro, so
this is rough already. Dang.
It's all good.
I'm still fidgeting with my hair. Sorry.
Well, I love your hair. I love it when you have it down and it's long and it's just goddess mode.
It's how I embrace going into work in drag every day.
Oh my gosh.
Changing my hair.
Can we talk about that real quick? Because there are some, so for those of you who do not follow us on TikTok or Instagram, which I'm surprised, I feel like our TikTok and Instagram is, you know, it's a pretty popular place for a lot of the HairX Friends people to go to. And we posted a video of us just basically dancing around and dragging Mateo Lane and his joke about pharmacists being the fakest profession ever. And TikTok's comments are some of the best. Like they're hilarious. Unhinged stuff that I've ever read. I want to read and share some of those comments for everybody because they make me laugh so much. So
they did.
If you can recall, Sally and I put on our pharmacy drag and we put on a show for everybody.
We sure did.
TikTok says, let's see. Oh, so this is, I think, the most popular one. And an APhA moment said, "It is a form of drag. You ladies better work now. Strut."
Yes, baby. Yes, baby.
This was my personal favorite. Chromic Nexus says, "Drag him, girly pop. It's the mother thing to do." The most Gen Z thing I've ever heard.
I saw that and I died. And remember, you had to bring to my attention that TikTok was popping off. I've been on Instagram. I was watching Instagram and I was just like, yo, this is so cool. People are responding. People are catching the humor. People are like exactly what we were going for. It was received, which by the way, I think is so cool that like we can conceptualize something and put it out and the world receives it exactly like how we intended.
Right. I'm glad that people got what we're trying to do because my biggest fear always is when I have these really weird ideas. I'm like, I hope that people understand what we're trying to do, you know, like I hope that it doesn't but that's the thing with content creation and just putting your work out there is that it is free for interpretation and that's where the backlash can happen, and that's just kind of the risk that you put yourself at when you're doing stuff like this. But I'm really glad that, you know, we found our people because you guys got us. And I'm obsessed with the content or the comments. I love it when people engage with us. Like we talk about this all the time, but it's just so much fun. Yeah.
Spicy.
That was for our 20th episode, which is a really big deal. Yeah.
Insanity. Bananas.
Insane.
Get out of
in the
here.
Membranes.
Go to space and live there type of insanity. I couldn't believe it. I mean, like when I saw it, I was like, have we put out 20 episodes?
Yeah.
Because you know, in my head, I'm thinking like, I cannot wait for our 100th episode. You can't tell me nothing. I'm just gonna act up so bad. So, and again, a lesson, right? Like I was so focused on like such a monumental, big vision and goal. There is like this other one that is just as impactful that was right in front of me, but I'm so caught up in like, when are we recording? Push the promo. Make sure you talk to people about what you're doing and all that. Like that I almost missed it. That's what I'm saying, that I almost missed it because I'm so fixated on all of the other amazing things that we are trying to do. But girl,
well, I mean, for me, like 20th episode is so special because I think you sent me I don't know who was sending me the statistics on podcasts, but most podcasts stop at like 3 episodes, right? And so if
Yes,
you make it to
I
like the
sent you
20th
that.
episode, okay, yes, we're like in the top 10% or
We
something
are.
really high up there
We
because we've
are.
actually made it past this period where you're like, is this even going to become anything? Is this going to be
Anything.
anything worth our time and energy?
Continuing. Yeah. I
Yeah.
remember vividly why I sent that to you. We were at episode 7. Episode 7 was getting
Wow.
ready to drop,
Oh my
and we
gosh.
were starting to like brainstorm about how do we need to push this thing. Like
Yeah.
there's something that we need to do, and I don't want to like miss a big sign. So I'm doing all this research and I saw it and I'm like, 3, 7 is getting ready to come out. And I was telling you, because we always have those moments, right? Like where I text you and I'm like, oh my God, like, are we doing it right? Like, is it working?
Yeah.
Are
There's a
we
lot of doubt.
growing? And like it comes your way to me sometime as well. And I'm like, look at this other thing that we just did. That's so awesome. So when I saw that, it was the biggest picker upper I could have seen that day. And I was like, I don't know how she's feeling, but I'm just gonna send it to Tu so she knows. Number 7 is getting ready to come out. We are already winning.
Yeah.
We are
No.
already winning.
It's a big deal. And I understand why a lot of podcasts stop at 3 episodes. It's very, very disheartening when you
Yeah.
do all of this work and then nobody listens to the show,
Yeah.
or it's just really hard to promote it. And,
Yeah.
it's here's a couple of things. I'm really blessed that we get to do this show for everybody.
Yeah.
And I hope that for those of you who are listening too, that like for us to come together and even record can even be difficult. Life
Yes.
happens.
Very.
Personal things happen. Your schedule gets crazy. We're both still working with full-time pharmacists.
Yes.
So it's like sometimes feels like a miracle that we even find time in the month to
Preach.
film 2
Preach.
episodes.
Preach.
And I'm so it's very hard to keep going because you're like, this is so stressful. But your words of encouragement, your engagement with us, your interest in filling out our polls and saying, I want to see this next and that next, like that means something to us.
Yes.
We're
Yes.
reaching people and we're connecting with people, and you guys like what we have to say and what we're putting out. And for me, as a person who've created my whole life, like this is probably the biggest thing that I've ever created. And if you look at like the grand scheme of things, we're still very tiny compared to like the biggest podcast in the world, right? But
Yeah.
for me, I'm like, this is a monumental achievement that I've done. We are reaching
100%.
800 followers on Instagram, which is
Yes.
going, and I'm aiming for
Bananas.
1,000 people by the time we reach our 1 year anniversary. So the fact that we were, like back in April, we were like at 300 or whatever. And I think there was a moment where it just like clicked in my brain. I'm like, I am like, I'm not playing around anymore. Like
We're
we
done.
are, yeah. Like hitting the accelerating button. Let's effing go. Like either you
Let's
go,
go.
you don't do it anymore, or you go and
You go full steam.
hard. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
All of that is dead on. All of that is dead
so
on.
that's really phenomenal for
It
us to be able to make
is.
it to this point. It's a
And
celebration, honestly.
it's just like, I don't know if it bugs you out, but like I'm bugging out. Podcasting was like the goal I thought I would not be ready for another 10 years, because I just knew
Oh
that
my gosh.
I would need so much money to pull it off for the team I would
Money?
want. Yes, because I would have to hire an editor, I would have to hire for marketing, I would have to. So it's like all of those things like I was lacking.
Yeah.
You were just like dying to actualize those same exact things. Like
Yeah.
it's just I don't know how else to put it except just say that like I'm so fortunate that I didn't get scared to ask, and that I had that courage to ask, because it's been like one of the most rewarding part. That's why like when we're like struggling to schedule, I'm like, I have to make this work because I love this
Yeah.
this this time every month that we get together to record. It's enjoyable. It's not me trying to create a reel and 4 hours later I'm hitting discard because I
Oh
spent 4
no.
hours on it and I hate it. I don't want to do it at all. Like,
Oh,
you know, I am
yeah.
not good. But if It's why majority of my content, I'm talking. I'm comfortable with that. I can turn
Yeah.
on the camera and share information. But I see all these creative templates. I'm like, but I know exactly the information I want to put in that, except it's 6 hours of my life.
Yeah.
I don't.
But this is what I tell you, right? I was like, hey, if you want to make content that you like, or you want to make, I guess, quote unquote, good content, you should be consuming other content, because then
I
you have an idea
know.
what the style that you're wanting to go for. If you look at, the beginning of how I edited the reels for Hey X Friends, we got this, and the reels that I'm making now, it's so
Now
different.
it
But it's,
is.
I think that's what I really love about content
Yeah,
creating, is you get to
I'm
grow
sure.
with it and
Yeah.
learn like what works for you and your style and things like that. It's been a really fun journey for me on a creative side. Being able to produce a show, yeah, we've always said like this is amazing. But you want to update everybody on what our ex friends or Hey Ex Friends is gonna do next?
You guys, before I bring you into my la la land
Oh
where
gosh.
my highest Delulu dreams are coming true. I want to say thank you to every single person that has ever given me a time a day, because I'm in a lot of people's inboxes. I'm in a lot of people's inboxes. I'm emailing a lot of people for opportunities to collaborate, opportunities to come on our platform, for us to be on their platform, so that we can build mutually beneficial relationships to move our collective brands forward. I have to give a special shout out to the student pharmacists that have held us down. They listen to us, they love us, and they tell their friends. And this is how now I am so thrilled to be announcing that Thu and I are going to the NAPhA National Convention. We are going to
Woohoo!
be in Los Angeles, California.
California girls, babies.
California girls acting out. Just, you can't tell me nothing right now about how happy I am about this moment, and the fact that it's you'll see me and you'll see Thu. We are individually in our elements, and we will also be all up in your face, because we are going to make sure that you are a part of our first participation in a national conference officially. I
Yeah.
I'm
We're gonna take you along with us on our
We're gonna
journey.
take you along with us through all the steps of this. Like, you already know this is not gonna surprise you, but Thu already has a list of all of the different journeys and all of the I think on a personal note too, the reason why I love that this is our first one is, you all know why Thu and I created this podcast. This was because we knew that as women of color, minorities in the profession of pharmacy, having people that are speaking about things and issues in a transparent way from a storytelling component was very important. And it's something we could not find in that space. And so to be going to a meeting like the National Pharmaceutical Association, whose mission and vision all revolves around how to move and support minorities in the profession of pharmacy and people of color in the profession of pharmacy to have successful careers, this is a special one for us. And we are coming to just show all the way out. Like,
Yeah. It's
awesome.
beautiful. It's a
It
beautiful
is.
thing. So
It is.
excited to share all of that with everybody. But I think it's also a really interesting segue to what we're going to be talking about today,
Yes.
which is all about organizations, especially APhA,
Yeah.
national organizations and local organizations, and really deep dive into a little bit about like why everybody's kind of struggling right now with
Yeah.
membership,
Membership.
and getting the engagement. And,
Yes.
we can totally relate to getting the engagement from people. It's very hard to
Hard.
make people feel engaged in the
Mhm.
profession.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, I want to dive into all of that. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it expected? Is it inevitable? Is just kind of like obvious that this is gonna hit this low point?
Yeah.
Let's get all into that.
Absolutely.
By the way, my name is Thu.
Oh, yeah. Oh, guys, y'all know me. I'm so hey. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for being here, you guys. Before we jump into all of the topics that we're going to talk about today, if you are watching on YouTube, please, please, please subscribe and like the video. And, write in the comments below. Are you involved with national organizations or local ones? And why or why not? I would love to kind of hear everybody's different take on it. And then maybe your response to our own take. Do you agree with us? Do you disagree? Love to hear that from you. And if you are listening to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever, please rate and write a review. But most importantly, just share, because sharing, I think I said this before, sharing is caring, but also sharing is so important for us to grow and for other people to know who we are. Sometimes these, the platforms don't necessarily push our shows out. And so we kind of need your help to do that for us.
Thank you in advance for the support and the love. We are not taking any of it for granted at all.
Nope, definitely not. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're taking charge of this episode today, because you know me and I have no clue what's going on.
I love organizational associations. Like, I think this is one of those things that I do see myself venturing out into later professionally, because I'm truly and genuinely fascinated by its structure. So in March,
I mean, I think a couple of episodes ago, probably like our third or fourth, we did say that maybe you would run for president one day.
Stop it.
What? I'm just telling you. I'm reminding everybody of the conversations we've had, because I remember all of that. And I'm like, Sally for president all the way. APhA president.
One day.
Right? Okay.
Oh my God.
Continue.
We know that there are dozens, and I'm not exaggerating, dozens and dozens of professionally recognized pharmacy organizations. They go from the broadest to super, super niche. Like, there are organizations that are focused just on compounding pharmacists. We have NCPA with community-based pharmacists. We have organizations that cater to clinical practice and pharmacy education. There's just, think of any lane, there's an organization that's a governing voice and a leading voice in that. The thing that makes APhA incredibly special is that they are older than old, right? I think it's 1890s or something like that they were first created. A lot of organizations that are out there really follow APHA's lead. When it's time for the profession to declare their position on big issues, it doesn't matter what your professional niche is. You want to know what's APHA's position on this, because they are the American Pharmacists Association. They don't discriminate based on practice. They represent the voice of all pharmacists. That's one of the things that I really loved that drew me to it. But the conversation about APHA's bylaws and constitution, and the fact that we needed to revisit and elaborate on some of the areas, or there were some things that were outdated. We just needed to get rid of them. They no longer fit the organization's role and the position it plays in the profession we have currently. I remember this conversation being something that they were talking about since I was a student pharmacist. And so last March, we all went to APhA annual meeting, and the amendments and these recommendations that had been put forward were actually up for discussion at the APhA House of Delegates. Before I get into what these changes are, I want to explain a little bit for the person who's hearing all these terms for the first time, like bylaws, constitution, House of Delegates, and things like that.
Me. I don't know what any of that is.
Like, the people listening, me. Constitutions and bylaws is the official document that sets the tone and the rules for how the organization is run, managed. Everything that you see forward facing for the organization there has to be, or there should be, a bylaw that supports the organization's movement in that direction. Membership can actually raise issues if an organization decides that they want to do this thing, or an executive committee, which is usually the president, the vice president, the secretary. Every state or organization has different component. That executive committee can decide it's time for the organization to go in this direction. A member can point out that the idea you have is wonderful, but our bylaws don't support it. So maybe step one for this new direction we want to take is to amend the Constitution and bylaws so that everything we do, we can reference it back to our bylaws and Constitution. And there's always something we can point to say, the bylaws and Constitution allowed us to make these moves and this decision, and that's why we did it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I guess if I can, like, from my understanding of all of that, is basically the bylaws help the members to kind of hold the organizations accountable in a way.
Absolutely.
But
It is the most, yeah.
but my question is, like, how do any members know that, first of all?
Yeah,
And because I've never heard of this. So
wow, yeah. So
yeah.
that's such an important point, right? Because many members just think that the organization is functioning with my best interest in mind, when in actuality, good organizations are going to have strategic planning, strategic meetings. They lay out their 1 to 3 year plans, and there is someone in that organization whose job it is to make sure that all these wonderful things we're saying we are going to do for our members is actually supported by our bylaws and Constitution, because they know that they can get in trouble, because even the organization's charter, for tax purposes and legally, if they're doing things that are off the books and aren't supported by the bylaws, there could be even bigger ramification than disgruntled membership. Disgruntled membership, we can figure out a way to keep it quiet, to kind of deal with it internally, but it could be escalated where the organization could find itself in trouble.
Like how? Like how big can the trouble be?
I think especially the most common examples are usually misappropriation of funds, right? Organizations can decide that for the CEO or the president of the organization, there's going to be all this money allocated to them. There has to be something in the bylaw that supports how membership fees and that money is used for travel, for meeting planning, for how they pay the different programming that the organization decides to pay and invest in. And it's an important document, but I can't tell you that I've read APHA's bylaws and Constitution. I've never, when I was Speaker of the House for Maryland Pharmacists Association, I had to. I had to, because much of the changes and the changes to the bylaws that would come about, one of the first things we had to do as part of the resolution committee was to see, do we already have a law, a bylaw on the books that is similar to this? Perhaps we just need to edit what's already on the book. We don't need to add a new law. We could just edit it.
Okay.
Which is some of what happened with APhA this year. And some of the other things, entirely new categories have been created.
Interesting.
And I was pleasantly surprised to find that membership is the largest category in which changes happened.
Okay, tell us all about that. I'm looking at it right now.
Yes, membership, Article 3 and on of membership went through a major facelift, like major facelift, right?
Okay. I like that analogy.
Right. It starts with a clear definition of what a member actually is. And membership is now, the proposed change was for membership to be defined as any pharmacist, researcher, student, or technician, or any other individual who shares the association's vision and mission may become a member of the association. That is really important, because the assumption is that physician assistants can be APHA members, all right? Like, You don't anticipate that. And any member shall be able to. That's another really important change. Clearly outlining once I pay my dues and I'm officially recognized as an APhA member, what does that get me? Like me as an entity in now existing in this organization, what can I do? You can serve as a member and vote as part of the association's committees. There are so many of them. You can serve as a delegate and vote in the association's House of Delegate. So you in Arizona, every year, Arizona is going to be looking for people to represent them in the House of Delegate at APhA. But every state get a specific number of people that can vote in the House of Delegate on different issues. And there's always an alternate that is also declared. You can also maximize the networking opportunity of being present. And then the holding office as allowed by the individual office in this association. I thought this language was a little vague when I read it in this component. It's clarified much later on. And then voting in associations elections as allowed by the individual office. The APhA general elections are happening where we're voting for the president-elect, and things like that. The physician assistant or the veterinary pharmacist that's a member, they get to vote. It isn't just the clinical practice or the research arm and student, and the pharmacy technician too. They get to vote on that.
I guess my thing is like, I've always kind of assumed that like all of what you just said is part of membership though. So like, what?
Like, what is
you know
that?
what's funny is when I showed up with my red lips on, Sally's like, oh shit.
Oh,
things are gonna happen.
What's gonna happen here today?
Oh, contrary theories coming in.
Those coming in hot.
causing all sorts of problems. But I'm just kind of curious, like, why did they decide to? I think it's great that they are breaking it down as to what membership is, but I'm also kind of in this mindset that like most people who are going to become members of APhA would know that they have the rights to do all of these things.
They do not.
What do they think membership is then?
Membership gets them access to courses, cheaper meeting attendance, cheaper APhA products. I can tell you with absolute certainty that the average APhA member is not interested in voting for president when the elections open up. They don't care who's on the board of trustees, which is bananas to me because they hold incredible power on the board of trustees. They just want membership so that they are able to pay for annual at cheaper prices. They can attend the meeting for cheap. Maybe they have a committee interest. They want to know that they want to join a committee, and a condition of being a committee member is having general membership. But this is where I think APhA could do more work and education on what are the actual benefits
like
of being a member.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? Like, what is it actually? Like, what all do I get? I review student pharmacist CVs every year. One of the things I see is they are APhA ASP member. They have no idea that also gives them membership into IPSF. No clue. So now I'm like, well, you're a member of two separate organizations. If you're a member of APhA as a student, that also gives you membership for the International Federal Pharmaceutical Federation. But you have an opportunity as a member to step up and say, I would love to represent our school at IPSF and things like that. But they don't know that exists. And I think that there's a real opportunity for the organization to do more, to educate new practitioners that or just twisting in the wind about what they want to do. And this could be one of those ways that we bring them in and increase that belonging in the organization.
Yeah.
There's something that I don't know and like if I'm able to talk to somebody at APhA, my first question is going to be about section 2. They changed one word. We went from classes of membership to categories of membership. And I don't.
Classes sounds kind of weird, that terminology.
Okay, because I was just like
what is classes? Is almost feels like one is better than the other.
Okay. Versus category, which is really what it is. When you think about it, it really just is categories. there's the student arms, and there was all this description, and they're just striking all that through for the statement to now be that members in this association shall be divided into membership as may be established by the Board of Trustees. This is what I'm telling you. These Board of Trustees elections are important. They make a lot of decision at the Board of Trustees that trickles down, that is then seen publicly for how the organization runs and works. There's a lot in membership. The thing I really want to get to that I think is spicy about these amendments,
we love some spice,
is there was a change in the number of people that can serve on the Board of Trustees. Again, if anyone who attended annual and was there when this discussion was happening, girl, it was spicy. People had thoughts. People had a lot of thoughts. Because even on the Facebook announcement of these bylaws passing, the single comment that exists is about how I hope that the overwhelming passing of these bylaw amendments sends a signal to the experience and leaders that spoke up against some of the changes in this bylaw at the House of Delegates at annual meeting. Because these bylaws passed with an overwhelming 90%.
Not gonna lie, I'm surprised that there were any comments at all, because I didn't even know this was happening. Talk about spice.
Listen, when we go to APhA next time, you have to attend the House of Delegates. It gets so spicy. I love it. Because you get an opportunity to come up to the mic and voice your opinion about what this proposed change is, and it's on a flat screen. And it's not anonymous. You're going to speak as, my name is Tu Nguyen. I am here speaking on behalf of myself. I think that such and such and such and such, and they're recorded.
Oh my gosh. Wait, okay, so what is the drama? Like, what is the spice from all of this?
Very it's a radical change, right? It changes the structure of what the Board of Trustees has been like historically. Number one, so I'm looking at Article 5, Section 1, and it's talking about the composition of the Board of Trustees. And I'm going to read what the previous bylaw statement was. Okay. It was the 6 elected trustees, the officer, the Speaker of the House of Delegates, the presidents of the membership organization groups of this association shall constitute the Board of Trustees. That last sentence, the presidents of the membership organization groups, what that means is you have to think about all of the groups that exist within APhA. For example, if you are elected as APhA ASP, which is the Academy of Student Pharmacists, if you are elected president of APhA ASP, that comes with a seat on the Board of Trustees.
So like automatically, if you're the president of these committees.
Yes.
Kind of.
Of these academies or these
academies. They're different groups.
Different groups. They have a research arm, they have a practice arm, there's the student pharmacist arm. Getting elected as president of any of these arms, you will become a seat on the Board of Trustees. And so historically,
that's a good thing, right? Because technically you're nominated and then you're voted into these positions. So that's a good thing, right?
Oh, in comes the spice. Oh, look at her. She's so excited.
Yeah.
In comes the spice, because what the amendment is now proposing is this. We are going to go from 6 board seats to 9 board seats. A slightly larger group.
There's too many cooks in the kitchen, isn't there? I'm already heated. Maybe I should have showed up and be like, this is stupid. No, just kidding.
So we're going from 6
my name is
to 9.
I'm representing myself, and I
myself?
think this is dumb.
I'm speaking on behalf of myself. This is Tu on the mic. I'm speaking on behalf of myself.
Tu Nguyen LLC. I don't like this. Period. Bye.
They're saying now the bylaw that passed and the change that passed is, and he reads, composition, 9 elected trustees, the officers, and the Speaker of the House of Delegates, a pharmacist member, a research member, a new practitioner pharmacist member, a student pharmacist member, a pharmacy technician member, at-large member from the pharmacist, research, or new practitioner pharmacist membership category.
Whoa.
That constitute 4 seats. Like, you now have a very, very
Wait, 4
diverse.
seats? Okay, wait. So there's 9 people.
Yes.
One is the officer,
Yes.
and then the other is Speaker of the House Delegates.
Yes.
That's 2. And then a pharmacist member,
A
research
research member,
member.
a new practitioner member, and then the at-large member, which is an elected position, right? For each of the categories.
Oh, at-large
Right.
member. So no longer the president.
So it doesn't explicitly say that, right? Because the student pharmacist member, and this was the point of discussion. The student pharmacist member, the technician member, are these still just the presidents of these houses? Did I say houses? I call them houses. The House of Pharmacists, the House of Student Pharmacists.
Can you imagine like Game of Thrones?
Game of Thrones,
Pharmacy
right?
version?
Pharmacy version. It would be all these houses. And this expansion, the people that spoke in favor of it, I can't remember verbatim, but it was kind of like, we keep talking about diversity and everyone keeps fixating on diversity of race, gender, and expression, when really one of the most powerful forms of diversity that we are overlooking is diversity of thought and experience. Having technicians on the board, having member at large, student pharmacists or researchers, we get a really good representation of the profession as a whole. And we are not dealing with issues in compartments. Because if everybody elected to the Board of Trustees are all clinical practice people, guess what issues are coming up in the boardroom?
Has that happened in the past where it's not diverse enough in terms of the practice sites?
That's been the sentiment in the organization for people that are really close and passionate about this. Like, my aspirations for leadership in APhA would likely start with an interest in a board of trustee position. But this Article 5 and this clear delineation was necessary, in my opinion. I am in support of us going to 9 from 6, and in the manner in which we are doing it. We are including members at large in the boardroom beyond just the president's elected.
But in the new verbiage, it doesn't even say that they are presidents of the membership organization groups. It just says pharmacist members. So can anybody be
duties and or how is that? Like, I'm reading.
Maybe they crossed out presidents of the membership organ. So it almost feels like, if I'm reading this and if they didn't make a mistake, it almost feels like any member
can step up for election.
You don't have to be elected to president to become board of trustees. You can be any member, which is a really, that's a really big opportunity for any members who's wanting to join one of these or like categories, I suppose.
Yes. Yes.
But then but that wouldn't make any sense, because like, how would you be even chosen for the board of trustees if you haven't been elected president? Like, I think maybe that's a mistake that they have.
No,
in this document.
Easy. The to be on the board of trustees, you throw your hat in the ring for an election at annual meeting.
Who's voting for it?
The general membership. That's the part. Yeah. You campaign. You saw all of us kind of posting to support the people that we knew that were running for positions this past year. One is a personal friend that was running for a trustee's position. I also want to give her a shout out. I want to give Kelsey a shout out, because seeing Kelsey on the ballot did something for me. All these thoughts I have about, I'm not ready. Do I have enough experience? I'm speaking to her. That's just who, first of all, Chelsea is. Like, she's just incredibly passionate and have wanted to serve forever. Things like that, and removing that idea of, I have to be a pharmacist 20 years and show all the stuff I've done to be taken seriously as a board of trustee candidate. She completely busted that myth for me. Same thing with Brandy, now as a Speaker of the House. When I saw that she won, I was like, this is unfreaking believable. It's
Yeah.
so cool because like I was in school when she was a final year student. Like we are not that far removed in our pharmacy careers, right? But I think it's very encouraging and very empowering when we see people that we are so close to in careers and they are choosing to step up in such a monumental way. That's what I want to encourage students to look for and always find. Like the people that are doing that thing that seems out of reach, but they are reaching it. They're reaching it right in
Yeah.
front of your eyes. Speaking to them to see where that courage came from and how they did it. That's how we move this bad boy forward.
No, I think that actually it's so important that you're speaking about this topic because to be honest, like if I hadn't known you and interacted with you on a regular basis, I wouldn't really care too much about joining organizations
Organizations.
and being involved in that.
Yeah.
And so actually let's take a quick break because when we come back, we're gonna go into talk about juicy Reddit. Ah!
The Reddit, she is like
The
been
Reddit part.
waiting for this part. She's like, you
And
everybody, if
I
it's your
wanna
first time watching us, red lipstick echoes. Red lipstick echoes. I'm taking no prisoners.
Yeah, seriously.
We'll see you back here in just a jiffy.
Yes, we'll be right back. Okay, we are back, everybody, and it's time to go on Reddit to read what people are saying about APhA and just in general being involved with organizations, whether it be national or local. And I would love for Saleh to maybe dispel some of the information that's out there, or maybe I don't know, I guess change people's minds about what they're putting out there. I would love for you to be able to do that. And then I can also put in my 2 cents about why I hesitate
Yeah,
and
that's so
hesitate in
important. I think,
joining, yeah,
yeah, we
organizations.
need to. I think,
I'd love to have this conversation.
I think that the radical change we want for our profession, we have got to be willing to listen to both sides of the conversation on the people that are passionate and push forward and give organizations their all, and the individuals who just are like, meh, I don't know.
Meh, we'll see. Maybe you will be able to change my mind. And I don't know, it's interesting because every time I do listen to you talk about it, it does kind of sway me a little bit towards
It's
like,
so
oh, I need to be
cool.
more
Come on this
involved.
side. Come
I
on this
know.
side.
It's fun over here. So let's do this Reddit post. Well, here's the first Reddit post. It was written a year ago. The topic or like the headline is, Why aren't you an APhA member? And then underneath it says, APhA has such a low engagement compared to the AMA and the ANA, which are the American Medical Association and American Nursing Association. Why is our profession so different? And so one of the first responses is, because they don't advocate for our profession in a meaningful way. They care more about things like provider status as opposed to making sure corporations don't overwork pharmacists at the danger of our patients. Another person responded and said, yes, provider status, coming soon since 2004. And then
The
parentheses,
shade. Oh, the
parentheses,
shade.
I'm sure it's been talked about before, but this don't have an exact date, so I was conservative. So she's just kind of saying like, this has been around for years, like what are they doing with that? And another person also spoke up and said this, they need to advocate for pharmacists' working conditions and patient safety first and foremost, but instead they focus on collecting dues and talk about provider status.
Oh, wow.
So that
Provider
is,
status is just catching strays left and right. My God.
so it sounds like these people just don't believe that APhA is has people's or pharmacists' best interest, in mind when it comes to
or that APhA is missing the mark on what the pressure points are for pharmacists today.
at this time, on current
right?
time. And I think reading that, I can kind of agree with this because I don't see them going out and publicly talk about them advocating for pharmacists necessarily. I mean, I think the walkouts back in fall of last year, I think the CEO, Michael Hogue, did step out and write several letters advocating for pharmacists and better practice environment. And I think he's made his point very clear on where he stands on it, but you still don't quite know what they are doing to fix any of that or to work on any of that. So I think the messaging is there's a huge component of like, why are we even part of your organization if you're not doing what pharmacists need you to do? And if you are doing what we need you to do, then why don't we know about it? Because to be honest, like, I don't know anything about it. I work as a full-time pharmacist. You know, none of my colleagues ever say anything or talk, you know, say anything great about any of these organizations. So I'm just saying, like, I think it's a very general consensus that we don't really know quite what APhA is doing, except for this provider status that's been given to us or talked to us since we were in pharmacy school.
This is so fair, because what I'm hearing you say is that we could benefit, and when I say we, I mean this profession of thousands of people could benefit from a little bit of transparency on the efforts that APhA is exerting on our behalf. We just need to know a little bit more about what you're doing. And I honestly don't know or think that the transparency we are asking for even needs to mean that we need to know that you're slam dunking it on our behalf. We just need to know that it's a priority item for you and you're fighting for it for us. Because
100%.
when I listen to those comments, that's what it kind of just sounds like. It sounds like you're pushing this singular narrative when in actuality, I know that APhA is working on things like that and collaborating to improve working conditions. But
nobody, your members, the people who are paying for memberships, don't know it. They don't see the transparency. And I think that, like, if your business model is based off of other people's money, like, I mean, if you look at like the US government, I suppose,
God.
Or like a lot of Americans don't quite know like the transparency of what the government's doing either. And so there's a lot of disgruntled type of conversations happening around the country. And distrust, 100%. And so, you know, it's in the same way, like the government is taking up our taxes and doing what with it, you know, and you hear that a lot. So then it goes back to APhA. If you're going to be taking people's money for membership, you know, in addition to all the resources that you have, like, what are you doing to help with our profession? And we expect to know it because it's, you know, technically we're paying for some of that, you know?
Yeah. And I think, so also the other thing, I think they were doing really well. I remember when Bled's Pizza's Not Working movement took off, she was invited at APhA. And I think it was very encouraging to know that APhA opened the door for her and they cared about what she was advocating for and offered opportunity to collaborate and support her in that endeavor.
That she's been
right.
She's been very open about not being invited since,
right? And things like that. So in the beginning, there was this invitation and this interest in helping propel her voice and things like that. And she's talked about how some of that momentum has kind of died down and gone away. So there's an opportunity with how they communicate with their membership. But
they have to do it in like in an engaging way that people would actually want to pay attention, because I'm sure they do communicate, but it's probably through some sort of newsletter where people are going to like delete that email anyways. I delete like most of the emails that like random organizations send to me because there's so many of them.
There are quite a bit of them that come out daily.
You know, how would you go about doing it? Don't know. Maybe, you know, hire us to talk about it on the podcast. Who knows?
Hello.
Because I mean, what? But I'm just saying, like,
we could be your APhA legislative update. We could be your destination for that. And present it in a digestible way.
Yeah, just in a digestible way, because most members, like, first of all, we don't have time to be digging into all the nitty gritty of like what this organization's doing, but we also want to know like what is going on. So you need to be able to give the information in a way that is easy to digest, and then we can move along. We know what you're doing. But I think that is a huge component of it, is the communication piece. It's like, we don't know what these organizations are doing. Like, are they actually benefiting the profession, or are we out here fighting for ourselves here?
Oh boy, yeah.
So other things that I see, other comments here. Such as like, so this is again, why aren't you an APHA member? This is a really long one, so let's see what it says. But this person says they have lobbied against increased pharmacist pay in favor of institutions. They do not advocate for pharmacists. They exist to support big corporations, institutions, and schools where they get their money. We need to form an organization with a new purpose. F, provider status. F, increased scope. I want lobbying to remove us from the FLSA exempt list federally. I don't know what that is. I want local lobbying to get state boards and state legislators to mandate better support staff and increase pharmacist overlap. I want corporations and institutions to be held accountable and an organization that represents an interest of the profession, not take money from big business. I want an organization that fights PBMs and pushes for legal minimum dispensing fees on top of more than break-even acquisition costs. I want an organization that will fight ACPE and lobby against their racket that profits from flooding the profession with more grads than we can handle. I want a new organization that pushes to get NABP to make the NAPLEX an actual exam instead of a joke, and something like a CPA
fired.
exam pass rate. Another person replied to this guy, this person.
No. Pause. No.
Wait, oh, you want to respond?
You need to right-click there. Who? Dude, she gave you a run for your money, even with your red lipstick.
I know, right? Listen, when I read this post, right, I was like, this is obviously somebody who's super, super passionate. They know what they want in an organization. I wish that this person didn't just decide to go on Reddit and say these things. I wish this person would, start being more involved. But that's the thing too, is I don't know how this person would be more involved. Like I don't even know what their first steps would be. But I wish that this person can stand up and be like, this is what I want. And I think a lot of people would follow that footsteps.
Yes.
Because they're very clear on what it is that they want.
Right?
To see.
It almost sounds like she has a to-do list.
He or she, I don't know.
He or she. Yeah. I beg your pardon. They sound like they have a clear to-do list for the organization that says that they are there to lift up the voices of all pharmacists across the profession. I love people that express themselves this way. There was zero ambiguity in that statement. She's very clear. He or she, I don't know why I want it to be a woman. I don't know why. Do you think maybe I'm trying to send a signal? Like she gives me strong girl power energy, girl vibes. Yep. Right?
Well, because she spoke very logically. Like there's not much emotion. Yeah, like this is what I want. Make it happen. Yeah.
There was a very little. I feel like it makes me feel there was very little emotion.
This person has a lot of vision for what the organization needs to be. Yeah,
and I respect it. I love it. I absolutely love it. I wish that. Sis, bruh, I want you to come to the House of Delegate, get on a mic and set it ablaze with this plan. Whether they hear you, whether they do something about it or not, I guarantee that what you just laid out, you are not in the minority in having those sentiments. And you should talk boldly about those ideas because APHA wants our support. We want to support them. I know I will always be supportive of APHA as an organization, but I can also be one of the people to clearly say that there is room for improvement here in a massive way.
It just sounds to me like they do not want to be part of APHA because, and I'm seeing another comment here that says because they're not in APHA because APHA is spineless, brainless twits who do nothing to prevent the erosion of the pharmacy profession. It just sounds to me like there's a lot of distrust.
Unhelpful, though. That's unhelpful. That's unhelpful.
Right. There's nothing to actually say. How do we improve? Right. Like they're just like complaining, basically. But it's just that is the sentiment that we're seeing a lot here. Is we think that APHA is useless. So then, how do APHA then respond to that? Because there is a decrease in membership.
They need voices like myself that have a very realistic understanding that this is an organization that works extremely hard. I've seen it firsthand, all the work and effort that goes into running it as an organization. And the people that work there are really passionate about what they do. I have to give them credit for that. is that translating into something that your members are identifying?
It's not translating. It's like you're sitting here and you're like, we've done so much work. They're working so hard. This organization is doing everything that it can to blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And there's obviously pharmacists that's like, we don't see any of the benefit from this. We don't know why you exist. Why would we even support you? What is the point?
This
there is a huge miscommunication between what the organization thinks it's doing and what the members and the profession thinks what it's doing. 100%. And it doesn't help that you do have comments like that where it's very useless. But it's very intense. Like these types of comments will get people's attention.
Yes.
And then you do have, content creators out there and people who advocate, like Bled, her content gets a lot of engagement because it does rile people up.
Yeah.
And so then you have it's almost like they're as big as they are not the commanding voice.
Yeah, which that makes me sad.
But they have so much money, like why can't they figure it out?
I know. That makes me sad.
Hire a professional. Don't have us give you ideas, right? Like we're not necessarily PRs.
Let's have a strategic meeting at APhA headquarters.
And let's go there.
Sit down with a bunch of people and see how this thing is happening. I don't know why more is not happening to get the hard work demonstrated and also have the resources going towards some of those things that your membership is saying, this is a pressure point that we can't wait another 5 years to have addressed. We need to know that right now, right this minute, this is on the agenda for the Board of Trustees, for the membership at large people. You guys are actively working to try to alleviate some of these pressures that we are feeling as pharmacists. And it makes me sad, but it also makes me happy that we have mediums where people are able to express that. And my hope is that APhA receives it as feedback more so than negative criticism of the job they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of being on a board or being part of an organization, you are subjected to criticisms. That's just part of the job. But it just seems like the criticisms is not being addressed at all. And I think that they need to be able to tactfully figure out a way to communicate what they're doing. But I also think like a really big example would be this bylaw situation passed. You sent me a video on it. I watched the YouTube video. It was like a 2-minute and something video. It didn't say anything. Sorry. But that video, it was a waste of time because I didn't know what was even happening. It was just like, oh, these things changed. And now go read this other document. And I clicked on it and I couldn't access it because I'm not a member. And I'm like,
I'm saying that you were hitting me up like, where's the document? Where can I actually see this? And I kept wondering, like, it's online. I
can't access it. At least I don't think I could. It was like log in first. And I'm like, I don't want to log in because I don't remember it. I've got other stuff to do. But I'm just telling you, like, that was an opportunity. They put out a YouTube video. They could have explained it more. What is a bylaw? Why is this important? How is this going to change the pharmacist profession? How is it going to change APhA? Why you should be interested? Like, they didn't explain any of it.
I'm
going to bleep a lot of this out because this is really harsh.
But that was an opportunity for them.
That was an opportunity for them to like capture people's attention who's not part of the organization. That was an opportunity for them to say, we're making strides to connect with pharmacists, and they didn't do it. I didn't learn anything.
Let me tell you something right now. Until you just made that comment, I didn't realize that a great way to start with this bylaw change, even when they were promoting for membership to vote, would have been to actually explain why the heck does this shit matter?
No kidding. I don't know why this matters. Like the word bylaw to me is equal to boring. I don't need to know another boring thing about pharmacy. Okay.
They are the coolest document to read. Stop it.
Sure. Snooze fest. That's what they are.
Oh my goodness.
Man. No. It's like get in bed and then read the bylaw because it will help you go to sleep.
I'm exposing my nerdiness in a way that's awful here because I love, like, every time it's like bylaw change or serving on a resolutions committee, I love that stuff. I love reading text to understand what is the text saying? What does it mean? What are
I
the
mean, me
implications?
too, right? Like
See,
I just did
join the resolutions committee.
I just did a deep dive on like culture scene, and I
I
love like
know.
getting deep into like the nitty gritty of
Yeah.
like why things happen. But if I don't get why I need to do it, then I'm
Yeah.
probably not going to. And
That's a
you've been
missed
exposed to it.
opportunity.
Yeah, you've been exposed to it since studenthood. So like
Yeah.
of course you're gonna be excited to see something
Yeah.
change. And you're
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, the organization's making strides somewhere. And the
Yeah,
rest of
that-
us don't get it. The rest of us don't know. And I'm glad that you're able to explain why it's important now so that the rest of us can start to like open our eyes on, oh, maybe I should pay attention to this. And maybe
yeah.
there's opportunities here for me to grow as a pharmacist and be involved. But one
Yeah.
last Reddit post and then we'll call it a day. But this one is
Yes.
pharmacy organization membership.
Okay.
And it's actually 4 years ago. So maybe it's a little bit outdated at this point.
Okay, but 4 years ago is also when we saw the ugliness in the mirror. That was COVID.
Yeah,
So
that's
it
true.
may not be as irrelevant.
So let's see. And it'll be interesting to see like if the comments from back then still is
Still,
relevant today. So it
eek.
says, "Hi y'all, just a quick question. I know there is a mixed feeling about pharmacy organizations, especially national organizations, but what are your feelings about local organizations? I'm part of a
Ooh.
local organization's membership committee and I'm just trying to find ways to increase retain membership, so I figured why not ask Reddit, which is kind of a scary thing to do, honestly." Um,
I'm done.
like
Reddit is gonna
Reddit.
help me figure this out.
No,
Let me just go
Reddit's
to
gonna.
Reddit.
Um, from your perspective, what would make you join or renew your membership to a local organization if you are part of one? If you aren't part of one, what would you like? Oh, sorry. What would make you join? Thanks in
Yeah.
advance. And so this person here said, I was a member for the first year at a discounted rate, but if you expect me to pay $350 a year and pay for monthly CE dinners and pay a ton of annual conference, it's just not worth it for me. So
Mm.
basically, the cost is just not worth what you're getting.
Getting.
And then another person says, figure out what the purpose of membership is. Why
Yeah.
did you join? Is it something you would have done if you weren't forced to? It looks like you're in an academia, so being in a local organization might have been required for your job. But if it wasn't required for your job, then would you have done it? So this person is asking the author, and the author is part of some sort of academia thing. So it looks like they are in academia. And let's see, what other comments are there? It says, I'm not currently part of one because I've moved, but previously I joined a local organization. I was involved in it for networking. We had monthly meetings at a restaurant for dinner and typically a presentation either by a member, resident, drug rep, or COP professor. So like College of Pharmacy
Social
professor,
pharmacy.
student. Sometimes for CE and sometimes not. So I guess they were just kind of saying that's what they got from their membership. Oh, another one here. Local group has a large College of Pharmacy membership. The biggest issue brought up was pizza party for students, even though job crisis and COVID were asked about.
That's hilarious.
So it just seems again like, I mean, there's a lot less reply in this particular post, but it just seems
But
like people don't really understand the point of it. People
that's
don't
what
get it.
that
Yeah.
hits the nail right on its head. People do not know what's in it for them to join and pay. It's not because even the person who's saying, I got to pay for this, I got to pay for this, and then pay this other one. If they were clear on what they were getting out of that, I don't know that they would be opposed to paying. But it's the idea that they are paying, and paying some more, and they don't even understand how all this money works for them.
Yeah.
Right?
Because I mean,
I'm spoiled. I'm not gonna lie. Like, as a Maryland Pharmacists Association member, it's been the greatest and best decision, postgraduate decision I made. Like, coming back to Maryland, getting back in the fold, figuring out what the opportunities were, running for a position, getting like, in Maryland, we've actually been able to successfully advocate for provider status for Maryland. I know that in Maryland, like, that association is very active and the members know, but even then, like, we know that our membership engagement continues to be an issue. Like this is a problem, not just for APhA, ASHP, or any of the other A's, but state associations, they all want to have mid-years and annual meetings. And it's a struggle to get people to register to come to them. And we need to meet people where they are.
Honest, yeah, to be honest, sometimes I feel like if I see certain local like annual meetings online that's promoted well, I'm like, why can't I go to that one instead of this one or whatever? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it is kind of the promotional part. And again, it's just like being able to communicate what the benefit of these organizations are and like what's the point of joining. But this person's correct. $350 for a membership, plus if you want to go to the annual meeting, it's another what? Like
at least 1,000.
Yeah, I was gonna say $300.
No. $300 for just registration. But if it's a location you have to go to,
right,
hotel and stay is also going to be on you.
So it might be like a total, like an annual cost to be able to enjoy all of the benefits would be around $1,000, like roughly, right? Maybe like $800 to $1,000, whatever it might be. That's a lot of money. And like if let's say I'm trying to promote Hair X Friends, we got this by creating ads on Instagram or boosting on whatever. I kind of overall at the end of the day think that I need to spend my money wisely on my business and growing my business rather than like spending my money on an organization that I may not like, I don't see a benefit in, right away.
Yeah, I hear this. I really do. That's why I think I'm so lucky that I have seen a different and have had a different experience. And I'm telling you, I'm going to reach out to some people to see in true Sally fashion. I'm gonna be like, do you know that this is the sentiment out here in these streets? What do we do about this? Like, what is happening? What are we doing about changing the perception and the sentiment about the APhA in these streets? Because it's rough out here right now. Like, that's what it just sounds like, that it's just not very up and positive, right? Can I put in one little nugget that is my feedback for APhA?
Oh, okay.
When I look at APHA's Instagram page, I don't identify with it. It's a lot of Caucasian females. I don't identify with that page. The speakers, they don't have any control about who submits a speaking proposal. I get that. But oh my gosh, I think that we could zhuzh this thing up a little bit. So that's my feedback for the person who's content creating over there. There are a bunch of us, Black, Asian, Pacific Islander.
I'm looking at it right now.
You're looking at it. Pharmacy is home to a lot of people. I always get excited when I see a person of color highlighted and shared on the Instagram page. And I'm like, oh, this is really, really cool. This is awesome. But majority of the things I see shared, I can't identify with it. And I would love for some attention to go towards that so that those of us supportive of the organization can also see ourselves in it and the things they push.
Maybe I need to go on the AMA's Instagram page and see if there's any like differences between APHA's page and like AMA's page. Let me look real quick.
I'm thinking you're like, I think I'm going to do that next week. But of course, and through fashion, it's like next week, right here and right now. I'd be curious, like what content and what.
Well, first of all, they have like 90,000 followers on here. Of course, their group is so much bigger, but the APhA one only had like 14,000 or something like that.
Did you say 90,000?
Followers on Instagram. I think APhA should go to AMA or like ANA because apparently they have a lot more engagement and just kind of see like what kind of content these people are putting out and like can we kind of
mimic it,
be inspired by that and create more engaging content for us. Or just copy, straight up copy. Why not?
I love you said inspired. Let's just copy them.
Hey. No, whatever. The internet is all about copying each other anyways. So
Inspired.
Who's even original anymore?
That's so funny. I'm done.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities out there for pharmacists. And I
There
mean,
are.
speaking to you, it seems like being part of an organization has been has made a positive impact in your career.
It has.
And, I hope that people listen to this podcast and this episode can also see that it could be a positive impact. It's just that
Yeah.
I think it's really hard if you don't speak to somebody like Saleh. Like
Yeah.
nobody in my pharmacy bubble right now is any kind of remotely engaged in
Engaged. Yeah.
national or local organization or anything. Like even for me to tell my supervisor, like, oh yeah, I'm applying to speak at this place, or I'm trying to do this paper or whatever. He's just kind of
Yeah.
like, oh, that's cool. Like, because I don't think a lot of people do think that way.
Yeah.
Um, and
That
it's
makes
it's
me
it's a lot of extra work.
sad. That makes me sad. Because
Yeah.
I love it so much. And I assume I assume that everyone else is in the same space with it, right? Like, but I know that's not it. I'm not that tone deaf. I know that
Yeah.
it's not on a lot of people's radar the way it is for me. I love going to them. I love meeting people. I love when someone is doing something exciting. I want that for everyone, and it takes communication. Let's not give up on talking to APhA. Let's not give up on communicating and articulating clearly what we want.
Hmm. Yeah.
What we want.
I think my last thoughts on this would be that when I first started out trying to figure out what my career path is going to look like for the next couple of decades in pharmacy, I felt a huge resentment towards the pharmacy profession because when I was
Oh,
doing clinical practice, I was like, man, I'm just like trapped in clinical practice. Like, I'm going to be an acute care
oh,
pharmacist for the rest of my life
oh,
because that's just what pharmacy is. And I felt this big resentment towards the profession. I also like saw a lot of people having the same sentiment as me
mm,
online, and I'm like, yeah, it's because of the profession, it's because of how outdated we are, it's because the
yeah,
organizations are outdated, because blah blah blah. I definitely went down this rabbit hole of like it's certain people to blame and not myself
yeah,
necessarily. I've really changed my mindset on that, in the sense that, like, I don't know why I'm waiting for an organization to step up and help me out in my career. Like, it
yeah.
just, it's my
Mhm,
responsibility to also
mhm.
take responsibility for my own career and feel the
Yeah, that
empowerment and the
ownership.
power to make changes in my own life. Like, why am
Yeah.
I waiting for pharmacy to change or the organization to change?
Mm,
And I think a lot of us out there are, probably living very passively as well. Like,
yeah.
I'm upset that this isn't happening in this organization. I'm annoyed that this isn't going on. I feel like blah, 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 blah. I just, I want to encourage the people who are kind of in that passive zone in their career and in their life right now to maybe say, I'm annoyed by this, so I'm going to go do something about it. And maybe
Yeah, that
that means
ownership.
take ownership, and that may
Yeah.
mean getting in there and jumping in the box and try to make a change. And I
Yes.
think that that's going to change your perspective of how
Mhm,
the profession is, the organization works,
mhm.
and feel more empowered by like attending certain meetings, speaking up, saying your piece.
Yeah.
And whether or not it makes a difference or anything, I think it will help you to see that you have more power than you think. And the more
Yes.
confidence you feel with it, the more you're gonna want to be more engaged and involved. And that's all I
Yes.
really want for this profession, is to feel
Yes.
more engaged and involved.
Yes. And
Whether or
involved.
not you go with a traditional profession like this, whether or not you do a podcast like us or whatever it
Us,
might
yeah.
be, I just want you to know that there is opportunities for you to make a difference. That
Yeah.
it's not, you can't really rely on anybody else. And I know
Come
this is
and
a
do.
message we say so much. To be passive in this profession is to
Mm-mm.
is just, you're gonna be basically marinating in your own resentment, and that nothing's
Literally.
really gonna happen. So you
Literally.
kind of have to, if you really want to see a change, you have to be that change.
Had to get in there. Oh, you have to be that change. As cliche as it sounds, I have nothing to add to what Thu just said because it was all 100 and 1,000, 1,000,000, whatever the percent. I have nothing to add to that. At the end of
Yeah.
the day, you just got to get in there and take ownership of what you want to see for yourself. That is a message you're going to hear from us a million times because that was the thing that transformed everything for us. Understanding that early in our career set us on a completely different course. So it does, I feel like no matter what we talk about, we always come back to this little advice right here of staying open and taking charge.
Yeah, like pharmacists are so intelligent and we're so capable. Like we've made through so many difficulties. Like taking advantage or taking charge of something like this, your own cause for advancing the profession is just a tiny little thing compared to what we've been through. So all you have to do though is just feel that passion in you and go get it.
Nothing else. Period.
Nothing else. Alrighty. Well, hopefully, Saleh can kind of, make some magic happen to perhaps get somebody from APhA to come talk to us a little bit more about the organization and to learn about what the benefits actually are and maybe to address some of the complaints that we are seeing online, in our own community, in ourselves. So, but thank you so much for listening to this episode. If this episode speaks to you and you think that others may benefit from hearing it, then please share. By sending this episode to them, this is going to help us grow and reach even more people.
Absolutely. This episode and 20 plus others, guys, 20 plus other episodes from us is available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcast. You can connect with us both individually or on the show page, where we are on a mission to reach 1,000 by this fall, and we need your help to get there. All of the links of all of the socials and how you can find us across whatever platform you prefer is going to be linked in the show description. And until next time, please don't forget, we got this.
We got this.
We got this.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.